Every day, millions trust ride-sharing apps to transport them safely through cities and suburbs alike. But behind the convenience and technology lies an unsettling truth sometimes. The person behind the wheel, or the one you're driving, hides far more than a smile. These are chilling, true stories of real Uber encounters that left drivers and passengers questioning their safety long after the ride ended. Early spring, 2019, outskirts of Phoenix, Arizona, Ethan never minded driving the late-night shift. The quiet roads and surge pricing made it worth the fatigue. It was just past 2 a.m. on a mild Friday night when his phone buzzed with a new pickup, Sandra, requesting a ride from a 24-hour diner on the edge of town. He arrived to find a lone figure standing under a flickering neon sign. She was a petite woman in her mid-30s, wearing a faded denim jacket and hugging herself against the desert chill. Her hair hung limp and unkempt, partially covering a pale face that seemed almost too blank for someone waiting alone in the dark. As she climbed into the back seat, Ethan offered his usual greeting. She didn't respond, just stared at him through the rearview mirror with wide, unblinking eyes. He chalked it up to exhaustion or perhaps a rough night. He confirmed her destination, Desert Crest Motel, a cheap, isolated place known among drivers as a sketchy but harmless stopover for travelers passing through. He pulled away from the diner, the silence growing heavier with each passing mile. He attempted small talk, asking if she'd had a good night, where she was from, but got nothing but that unsettling stare in return. He flicked on the radio to break the tension. She didn't even flinch. After 15 minutes of desert backroads, Ethan's phone suddenly beeped. Route changed. He glanced at the app. Sandra had updated the drop-off to Desert Crest Motel, Unit 19, instead of the lobby. Odd, but not unheard of. He shrugged it off and turned onto the gravel driveway that led to the row of dimly lit motel doors. As he slowed in front of Unit 19, Sandra leaned forward for the first time, her breath hitting his neck, and whispered, "Wait here, I'll be right back." Her voice was dry, papery, and didn't quite match her appearance. Something about it made Ethan's chest tighten. She slipped out and walked stiffly toward the door. No key, no phone, no bag. She just stood by the door, staring at it, then at the windows, then back at Ethan. After a minute, she vanished behind the corner of the unit. Ethan waited. 5 minutes. 10. He tapped the steering wheel, glancing nervously at the empty, cracked parking lot. He sent a polite text, "Hey Sandra, still need the ride?" No response. He got out, walked to the unit, and knocked gently on the faded wood. No answer. A sudden breeze rattled the loose siding. The hairs on Ethan's neck prickled. He peered through a crack in the drawn curtains. The room inside was dark, completely vacant. No furniture, no luggage, no light, just an empty shell. Ethan hurried back to his car. His gut screamed to get out of there. As he slid into the driver's seat, his phone buzzed again. Trip ended. He blinked. He hadn't touched the app. A chill ran down his spine as he noticed the fare was listed as $0. Heart pounding, he pulled out onto the road and called Uber support. The rep insisted the ride was completed normally, no glitch, no record of a changed drop-off, and no sign of a Sandra ever using that account again. For weeks, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that he'd picked up something, or someone, that never intended to be dropped off. He later asked around. The Desert Crest Motel had shut down 2 years before, after a series of crimes and a suspicious fire in Unit 19. It had never reopened. Ethan still drives for Uber. But he avoids the outskirts now, especially near the old Desert Crest Motel, which remains boarded up and forgotten by the city, but not, perhaps, by whatever walked out of his back seat that night.
Autumn 2020. College town on the East Coast. Late Friday night, Maya was a junior at a small college in Connecticut. She'd just finished a long Friday shift at the campus cafe and was heading to a friend's off-campus party. The weather was cold and damp, the kind of night when walking across town felt like punishment. She opened the Uber app and ordered a ride from her dorm lobby. The driver's name was listed as Ryan. Driving a black Toyota Camry, the app estimated a 6-minute arrival. Maya wrapped her coat tighter and scrolled her phone to stay awake. A few minutes later, a dark sedan pulled up. She glanced at the plate, close enough, except one letter was different. She hesitated. The back window rolled down and a friendly voice called out, "Maya?" "Uber for Maya?" He looked like the picture in the app, same ball cap, same kind eyes. She mentally shrugged off the minor plate mismatch and got in. It was too cold to argue. At first, the ride seemed normal. The car smelled faintly of peppermint. The radio played soft indie rock. The driver asked the usual polite questions. Was she a student? How was her day? Big plans tonight. Then things started to feel off. They didn't turn down Main Street, which was the most direct way to the party. Instead, he veered onto a poorly lit side road lined with old warehouses and empty lots. I think you missed the turn?" Maya said, her voice trying to stay calm. Ryan laughed lightly. "Oh, it's just a shortcut." "Don't worry. Trust me, I know this town inside out." Her gut twisted. She opened the app to check the route. It showed them off course by several blocks. She asked him to please take her back to Main Street. He didn't respond. He just hummed along with the radio, tapping the wheel in rhythm. Maya texted her friend, pretending to chat normally. "Hey, this Uber is going the wrong way. Call me, pretend it's urgent." She didn't want to alarm the driver outright. Her friend replied instantly, "Call 911." Maya looked up and asked more firmly, "Can you please stop the car? I want to get out here." Ryan's humming stopped. His fingers tightened on the wheel. He said nothing, just pressed the door lock button on his side. She heard the click, all doors locked. Her pulse roared in her ears. She glanced at the speedometer. They were only going 30. Creeping through the industrial back roads, she debated grabbing the handle and forcing it, but the child locks might be on. Suddenly her phone rang, her friend's name on the screen. She answered on speaker loud enough for the driver to hear. "Hey, yeah, I'm on my way. What? What happened?" Okay, I'll come right now." She tried to sound alarmed. She turned to Ryan. "My roommate had an emergency. I really need to get out now." "Please, just pull over." He didn't react. His face was calm, almost blank. He turned the radio up a notch, drowning her out. Maya's survival instinct kicked in. She secretly dialed 911 with her other hand. Hoping they could trace her call, she whispered into the phone. "Uber driver won't let me out. I'm near Lincoln Warehouse District. Please help." She tucked the phone into her coat pocket, hoping the dispatcher could hear everything. She reached for her bag and rummaged for the tiny can of pepper spray. Her mom had mailed her 2 months ago. She'd laughed about it then. Paranoid mom? Gift she'd never expected to use. Her hand closed around it, her heart hammering so loud she wondered if Ryan could hear it. As they turned another dark corner, she unclipped the safety and aimed it at his neck. "Stop the car, or I swear to God I'll spray you." Ryan's eyes flicked to the mirror. He saw the can, and for the first time his mask slipped. A flash of annoyance, then something darker, something hungry. But he said nothing. The car slowed. He pulled roughly to the curb, beside an abandoned loading dock, and unlocked the doors with a single click. Maya didn't wait for a second invitation. She threw the door open, stumbled out into the drizzle, and ran straight for the main road, not looking back until she reached a busy intersection with bright streetlights and people waiting for the bus. She called 911 again, trembling. By the time police arrived, the black sedan was long gone. A later check of her app revealed that the real Ryan, same photo, same car, had never accepted her ride request. Someone had spoofed the account, cloned the name and car, and preyed on drunk or distracted students who didn't bother to verify the plate exactly. No one found the fake driver. Campus security issued warnings. Uber quietly refunded her trip with an apology and a vague promise to investigate. Maya still takes Uber, but now she checks the plate, the driver's name, and the driver's face twice before opening the door. Some shortcuts, she learned that night, are far more dangerous than any long walk in the rain. Maya's story is a stark reminder that convenience can come at a price. Even with an app and a name, a predator can slip through the cracks. The real safety check is the one you do for yourself. Late winter, 2022. Suburban neighborhood in the Pacific Northwest, just after midnight. Carlos had been driving for Uber part-time for nearly 3 years. He liked the flexible hours and easy cash. His city was quiet most nights, and the biggest problems were usually drunk college kids leaving bars downtown. But one snowy Thursday night changed his trust in routine forever. It was past midnight, and Carlos was on his last ride before heading home. A request popped up. Derek, pick up from a residential street he knew well. He drove there quickly. The neighborhood was quiet. Rows of identical houses dusted in fresh snow. He spotted a man standing at the curb under a street lamp. He was tall, wearing a dark hoodie and cargo pants. He looked up as Carlos pulled over but didn't approach the car. Carlos lowered the passenger window. "Hey, Derek?" The man nodded once but didn't speak. Carlos frowned but unlocked the doors anyway. The man slid into the back seat behind Carlos. Not behind the empty passenger seat. Something about that felt odd. Cold night, huh? Carlos tried to make small talk, watching the man's shape in the rearview mirror. No reply. The rider just sat stiffly, staring at the back of Carlos's head. Carlos confirmed the destination, Greenfield Apartments, about 20 minutes away, through a winding stretch of road that cut through some light woods. As they pulled away, Carlos couldn't shake a sense of unease. He had dealt with silent passengers before, but this silence felt pointed, like the man was holding back words on purpose. 5 minutes in, Carlos glanced back again and froze. In the faint glow of the dashboard lights, he realized the rider wasn't alone. Behind the silent man, crammed low in the back seat's footwell, was a second figure, a girl, maybe 15, pressed into the shadows. Her eyes were wide and terrified, but she shook her head desperately when she saw Carlos notice her. She lifted one trembling finger to her lips. "Don't say anything." Carlos's throat went dry. He forced himself to keep driving, his mind racing. He couldn't ask the man directly. What if he was armed? What if the girl was being kidnapped? Trying not to show fear, Carlos turned up the radio just enough to cover the sound of his rapid breathing. He touched the emergency button on his Uber driver app but didn't hit call 911 yet. He needed a plan that wouldn't tip off the man. The GPS suggested the usual route, but Carlos ignored it. Instead, he took the next exit back toward the city center. The man leaned forward, voice low and menacing for the first time. "Where are you going?" "This isn't the right way." Carlos faked a calm chuckle. "Sorry, the GPS said there's black ice on the main road, safer this way." He felt the man's cold stare burning holes into the back of his neck. But the man leaned back, apparently buying it for now. Carlos's mind raced. He needed an excuse to stop without seeming suspicious. He spotted a brightly lit gas station up ahead, still open, with an all-night convenience store and a police cruiser idling out front. He signaled and slowed down. "Hey man, low on gas. Can't risk stalling out." "Just a minute, okay?" The man said nothing. Carlos pulled into the lot, heart pounding as he saw the two uniformed officers chatting beside the squad car. He parked by the pump and left the engine running. Hang tight, just topping up. He stepped out, shut the door, and with practiced calm, walked straight to the officers. Quietly but firmly, he whispered, "I think I have a kidnapping victim in my back seat. Please help. Be careful." The officers exchanged a quick glance and moved without hesitation. One positioned himself at the driver's side, the other at the back passenger door. Carlos stood back, feigning interest in the gas pump, his breath fogging in the icy air. One officer tapped the window. "Sir, we need you to step out of the vehicle." Carlos saw the girl's face, wide-eyed and pleading. Just before the man lunged for the opposite door, the officer yanked it open, and a brief struggle broke out in the snowy lot. Within seconds, the man was pinned face first against the wet pavement, cuffed and cursing. The girl was gently helped out by the other officer, wrapped in a blanket from the squad car, and led inside the store where an ambulance would soon arrive. Carlos gave his statement for nearly 2 hours, hands still shaking. He learned that the girl had run away from a foster home, only to be snatched off the street by the man pretending to be her friend's uncle. He'd used her phone to order the Uber under a fake name, Derek, hoping no one would suspect a thing. Police told Carlos his quick thinking might have saved her life. Uber support flagged the account. But Carlos knew that wouldn't undo what nearly happened. He never drove the graveyard shift again. Sometimes he wonders what might have happened if he hadn't seen the second pair of eyes staring back at him from the darkness of his own back seat.